hello to my fellow ladies and gentlemen. And today, on the second episode of our podcast, You Go Girl, we have our guest speaker for the day, Miss Rupal Sinha, who is also the group president of BVG India. So it's wonderful to have you on my podcast.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So, well, I would like you to, tell my listeners how you reached such a big position, what made you who you are today.
Well, I think, of course, it's a mixed, lot of people, a lot of hard work, a lot of determination. Everything has made me who I am today. So basically, I am a lawyer and a company secretary by promotion, by my profession. I have done my strategic management from Stanford. So that sums me up academically. And I started my career as a lawyer. And up until when I was in group 4, when I elevated up to the level of regional legal counsel for, Middle East and Southern Asia, that's where the turnaround happened. And our group HR and my direct boss, they were adamant to put me into a PNL role. And I was trained massively. We were working in a security industry, trained massively in many jurisdictions. And once a CEO and MD, then you are always a CEO and MD, right? So since then, I've been either president or a CEO or a MD or a chairperson of few boards. So that's been the journey.
Sounds like a very interesting profession. So I would like to know who is your inspiration and why.
So very different from I think from many answer. My maternal grandfather, I would say, my best friend, my hero, I would say, and who I lost actually at a very young age. And he was a pilot by profession in pre-independence era. And why him? Because our bedtime stories always had messages, and these messages generally always were inclined towards, something that you should incorporate into your life. Which later on my parents did the same thing with my child, that you always need to have a clarity of mind and thought, uh, balance your heart in profession and in your personal relationship. Failures and successes are outcome, but the sincerity is something you should always hold on, so that you tried your best at least. Whether you fail or succeed, that's simply an outcome. And the last, but not the least, your relationships, whether it is at the personal level or professional level, should be beyond forgiveness. You should know how to forgive, and you should seek forgiveness when you have done something wrong. And I think in my entire network, I don't know anyone whose door I will knock and it will not open for me. So I think that's been an inspiration, as making a person, a citizen and a person who can, react or act in any given circumstances. I think that's something my maternal grandfather built me on.
Truly wonderful and inspiring. So, as a 16-year-old girl, for me, feminism is basically equal rights for both men and women, and a movement which establishes rights for women, equal rights. So, what I want to ask is that for you, what is feminism to you? How do you define it?
Yeah, I think I would resonate exactly what you just mentioned, that feminism to me is definitely empowerment to the women. Uh, that they should realize themselves the full right, instead of holding a flag and saying that I need this. That is equally important. So I don't dwell more on the women rights, and jumping on that. But what I truly want every girl, every growing girl, every growing family, every parent who becomes a parent to make the the upbringing gender neutral. Once you make the upbringing gender neutral, I think the kids who are born, and I think in today's generation where I come from, the kids know their right, the girls know their right. There are the lines of any gender gap is diminishing very fast. As I said, that yes, equal rights and opportunities and equality. For me, the feminism even goes beyond women. I would say that for me, the feminism is not only to control or give equal opportunity and stop unjust practices, not only to the women, but people of color as well. And we have done a lot on LGBTQ community. And we believe in full equality and equity as far as and the ecosystem should be. So I think that defines the feminism.
Yeah. And are you perhaps a feminist?
If this is feminism, then definitely I'm a feminist.
Yes. Wonderful. So, for having a lot of experience in the corporate world, what do you think are some of the challenges which women face in corporate?
I think the major challenge is, I think I'll come from a women individual perspective and then come from the corporate perspective. In the individual perspective, I think as women, we do not know how to, or we sometimes heavily compromise our individualities, and we want to be the best at everything that we do. So at a given point of time, we want to be the best mother, we want to be the best sister, best daughter, best wife. It's not possible, uh, and what needs to be done, that if you have to succeed, the family, your supports function around you, whether it is your family or your profession, needs to understand you as an individual, more as a woman. So prioritize, balance yourself, balance of time, balance of priority, balance when do you want to be more as wife, when do you want to be more as women, as mother, as sister, or the profession that you hold. I think that is very crucial as women, and it is also for men equally. But I do see women compromising this heavily a lot. Coming on the corporate side, I would say that yes, there are shades of unconscious biasness. And we don't make our hiring gender neutral. We form a perception that there are certain categories of positions that perhaps women will not be able to deliver. And we have worked very, very, very closely around it. I have personally made sure that in our security industry, we have right from the vice presidents, the salespeople, at the location, client location, we have supervisors, lady guards, lady supervisors, holding security of that site. So we have worked very hard to bring those changes. But at a very larger level, I think the world needs to, and the corporate world needs to work on these unconscious biasness. If that's eliminated, I think we have an inclusive environment, and people will be more judged on their performance rather than their gender.
Yeah, I agree with the biased part because in I was reading a book actually, and there was this scene in where the girl is an investment banker at one of the
Hmm.
top investment banks. So basically, she is presenting a deal with some foreign bankers, and
Yeah.
they think that they think that she is a secretary, which was honestly, this is how there's a bias of women in corporate, and that was what I had read in a book.
Yeah,
So
it happens. It
yeah,
does happen. If you see in the Western world, at many in many countries, the the maternity leaves were very restrictive. Some of the Western world came much later than the Asian countries in adopting these maternity leave benefits, paternity leaves now. So things are changing. It's not that the things are not changing. And you can't ignore 48% of the world population, which is women, right? You can't ignore. You have to, if you really want talent and you believe that there is no discrimination while recruiting a talent, then you have to give 48% of the world population a chance to give their show their mettle. So yes, I think from a corporate perspective, things are changing. I do see lots and lots of people now moving towards so-called men version of jobs, and I do see women doing very well in there. So I think times are changing. We would see a much better future going forward.
Yeah, and I would also like to ask, have you ever been discriminated on the basis of your gender in the past?
Never, never, never. In fact, if you see my entire journey is very, very unique because I am a lawyer and a company secretary. How can you run the world's largest security company by manpower size? Um, uh, I mean, I had to work with people like brigadiers, colonels, ex-police officers. I mean, how do you? They were the masters and the coming from their own field and working with those people and leading them was definitely not easy, but yes, we did it. So for me, I think I have never been discriminated. I don't see any, I don't recall any such instances.
That is absolutely wonderful to hear. So I would also like to know, is there a gender pay gap in your industry?
So I come from a facility management industry and security and facility management industry. And in most of the countries, if we talk about employing blue-collared worker, these blue-collared workers are governed by minimum wages. Now, the minimum wages are equal for everyone. So to that extent, we are sorted that whether it is we recruit a men or a women, it doesn't matter. There is a parity of pay for them. Coming on the management side, it's a complex topic to say. If you ask me on a broader perspective, companies which I have led, there has been no discrimination on the positions. If a position is offered to a men or a women, or if there are salary brackets, men or women are equally getting the same. And in most of the Indian scenario, very recently, if you take last 6 or 7 years or last decade, there has been a lot of effort by companies, leaders, uh, the HR heads, the ecosystem of India as a whole, to really work very hard to make sure that there is no gender pay gap in the industry. So even if it exists, it might be existing in some small shops, but I think the large organization which are working in India or in the Asian environment, I don't think that these are existing now.
Yeah, that is actually, I'm impressed to hear all about the changes to reduce the wage gap. So now the next question is that what are some important lessons that you learned in your career?
Yeah, so I think I've said that before also in many other interviews. I always practice and I've always told people that maintain the principle of 3 C's, by which what I mean is that you should be firm in making your choice, whether it is a choice of staying at home, whether it is a choice of learning something, whether it is be it any age, whether it is a choice of choosing the profession, anything, whatever choice you make, you need to give your choice a chance. You need to give chance to the choice that you have made. And if you don't make choices and give yourself a chance to practice those choices, you will never change. So, and change is constant, right? You have to keep changing yourself. You have to move with where the economy is going, where the world is going, where the psychological balance is going. So remember these three C principles, the choice, the chance, and the change.
Right. That was, I will surely keep that in mind. So, how do you ever deal with failure and disappointments? What do you do to get
There
yourself
have been, yeah, there have been plenty. It comes off and on, and especially when you are holding a high profile positions, balancing your home and your profession, working in the profession, results, working on some high value contract, getting, not getting, getting promotion, not getting, all these things definitely cloud your mind many often. I think what is required is a self composer. You need to be calm and composed. If there are failures and disappointments, doesn't that should not overcast your future behavior. Not at all. I think you should quickly move on, evaluate why you lost something, whether it was your own reasoning, whether it was due to team, whether it was environment, any forces that brought those failures and disappointment need to be analyzed very quickly. Once you have analyzed, you will feel very empowered that, okay, these were the mistakes which I shouldn't be repeating once again, or these were the gaps we didn't follow, and because of which we missed the chance, or we missed or the disappointment came, or the failure happened. Once you have done that, you will never do that again. You will never do that again. So bring that feel good going factor, get back into the game, take the learning from the experience, whether it was for any failure or disappointment, and move on. I think that's what I've always practiced, because there's no point sulking yourself. You definitely need to go back and check why this things happened, but don't waste your time on that. Move on, learn it, and move on.
Yes, I totally agree with you. And this reminds me of that one Hindi poem I learned. It was called So Beet Gaya. It went.
Hmm.
Yes,
Yeah,
move on.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
if you weren't a CEO, what would be your alternative profession?
So I think I would change your question. I was always meant, and I always dreamt to be a doctor.
Ooh,
Always,
like
all my dream, I was in those white coats, and I was imagined as you at your age, or at a young age, always dreaming about, doing some social work, doing surgeries, complex surgeries, and everything. But and I was a very good student of bio and chemistry. And when it came to opting for my biochemistry as my subject, uh, in India, the dissection starts at a very young age. And perhaps the destiny didn't wanted me to be a doctor. I tried to practice it for 3-4 months, but it just couldn't work for me. And I then didn't knew what to do. Because I always dreamt to be a doctor. But my principal came to my rescue, and she said that, okay, start with commerce and see where it takes you. Um, in the college, a couple of my teachers became my mentor, and they said that do a company secretaryship and lawyers together, and then couple it up with the management and see where it takes you. So if I wouldn't have been, if I wouldn't, I was not doctor. That's why I became a CEO. And I think for me, the formula is DFD, which is I'm going to die from the desk. So I am going to work till my last breath, whether it is for someone else or I start my own business. And if you ask me, where do you see your own business? Perhaps it will be we will it will mostly be in the food industry. So that's what that's exactly is. So not the CEO, but yes, from the doctor to a CEO for sure.
well, that was honestly amazing to hear about the alternative profession. And lastly, the last question is that what advice would you give to young girls or women who are already in your industry or are trying to get into your industry?
Yeah, so I think, as I said before, also our industry, it's a 24/7 industry. If you're coming from a security side, then it's a very long, it's a tough job. It's not an easy job. So it's an industry which is growing. It's an industry where we have seen people moving from, the supervisor up to vice president level. So it's an upcoming, budding, good industry to be in. We invite a lot of women to come forward and join this industry. But whichever industry you want to join, one thing remember is the determination. That calls everything. Organization definitely stand in the hard times of people, but determination is something which every girl and every woman needs to remember, whether it is in their personal lives or their professional lives. So that's important.
Yeah, and I just wanted a small glimpse from the past again because I loved hearing about the child you. So I would just love for you to, elaborate a little bit about your childhood and how it was.
So I was, I think uh, I was a very, very sports student. I was a national player for basketball. Twice I received Best Dancer Award in my school. Very, very, popular in all extracurricular activities, whether it is drama, whether it is, and of course, studying as well. So don't count me as the top three student in the academic front, but yes, of course, I was definitely in the top 10. But yes, I was definitely strong in extracurricular activities. So the childhood was a very naughty child, and a very darling of my father, a very, very darling of my father, who pampered me like anything, and he would always say, and as you speak Hindi, you would understand that better. He would always say that, maar ke aana, pit ke mat aana. So I had that tomboyish upbringing in my childhood. And yes, I think every freedom that a child or a girl can perceive or can dream was always given to me by my parents. So all along, no complaints, and that's what we have passed on to my child also. So yes, uh, the child was. I can go on my childhood memories, but yes, it's been a wonderful, wonderful childhood.
Yeah, I loved hearing on how much of a talented kid you were. So I would again thank you so much for thank you so much for for having this discussion with me. It was absolutely amazing. I enjoyed every bit of it. So
Thank Thank you so much, and really, really enjoyed interacting with you. And God bless you with a lot of happiness and success that you dream.
yeah, and to all my fellow listeners, this is the end of episode 2. And don't forget that. Wait, you want to say it together? It's you go girl. You want to say it together?
New Go Girl? Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Let's
yeah.
do that.
Okay, sure. And don't forget that you
You
go
go
girl.
girl. You
Yeah,
go girl.
yeah. You definitely go girl. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so
All right.
much.
Thank you so much. Lovely talking to you.
Bye,
Bye for
ladies and
now.
gentlemen. And this is your host, Sejal Jungle, signing off.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.